Tom. Finally get to meet you. Shoewood. Good. Just hear the excitement. Finally. Yeah.
Unlikely. I'm still, I will say that I did spend some time reading the materials as much as an architectural or attorney person can, but get the basic concept, CIDs, TIFs, and things. But I'm educating myself as I go along. But I don't really see anything particularly controversial in this meeting.
Oh wow.
That's what I hear.
Walking around and try everything. Yeah. Is this so far your favorite?
It's not here for sure.
The tip?
I said I'm surprised Jay's not here.
Different.
It would not be like him not to be here.
There's still vehicles pulling in.
Okay.
Oh.
People are just running late.
Oh, you do? Okay. That's a nice area. Sure. President, good to hear. I'm going to drop a couple of hard copies for his design guideline just in case if anyone doesn't have it. I know.
They're always tightening.
I think we're ready to. Gentlemen, let's find a seat if we could so we can start this meeting.
Okay, well, I'll catch up with you.
Thank you, everyone. This is the meeting of the Tax Increment Finance Commission on Wednesday, July 6th of 2022. The year's almost half over. It is over half over already. Yes?
You didn't sound like it.
Like I said, this is the meeting. Can we hear us now? Or of Wednesday, July the 6th, 2022, 6 o'clock, City Hall Council Chambers. First one is call to order. Looks like number one on our list is Resolution 2022 Election of Officers. The first one is the chairperson. Any nominations from the four of us, it looks like?
Well, Tom, you could be chair again.
Whatever.
I nominate Tom Parr.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any say nay? Looks like I'm it again. The next one is vice chair. Do I hear any nominations? I nominate Rita Pierce.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any more? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any say nay? That one's done. The next one is the secretary.
Can we
Go ahead.
So the secretary position, it's mostly a name. I actually do all the minutes and everything. So if you get nominated for that, you don't have to start like writing and trying to keep track of everything.
So do I have a motion?
I would like to suggest Kylie Miles.
Kylie Miles. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any say nay? That one's done. Now we've got a treasurer. Looks like we got one left, Kyle.
I motion, whoa, sorry about that.
Great.
Jeez. I motion to have Jenny Wise be treasurer.
Jenny Wise. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any say nay? It's done. Motion to close the nominations and approve the list of all nominations. I ask for a second.
I so move.
Been moved and seconded. All those say aye.
Aye.
No nays? Item number 2, approval of the minutes of February 18th of 2021. Do I hear a motion for the approval of the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Been moved and seconded. All those say aye.
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 Any nays? Been moved and seconded. Item number 3 is a public hearing. Consideration of the Third Amendment to the North Kansas City Destination Developers Tax Increment Finance Plan. The chair opens the public hearing. Roll call of present members. Ms. Doss?
Here.
Yes, ma'am.
Here?
Here.
The next one looks like a staff report. Ms. Nakahoto?
Good evening to the commission. So in your packet were several items. One of them is more procedural in nature, and then I will actually be handing it off to the TIF Commission legal representative, which is Mr. Steve Sparks, and Mr. Matt Webster, who is the city's financial advisor, will be going over several components of the actual TIF plan amendment. Right now, I'm going to kind of go over just a little bit to make sure from a procedure standpoint that this meeting was noticed properly. In your agenda packet, there is I kind of outline in a staff memo along with multiple attachments all of the notices, including the mailed notices to the taxing jurisdiction and the public notices that were both mailed as well as available on the Kansas City Star, both online and in print. We also have the affidavits for those attached in this packet. I'm happy to answer any procedural questions you may have on the noticing components. If there are no questions on the procedural part, I will hand it over now to Mr. Sparks, who will go over the amendments. And if you'll notate on your screen, we actually have the TIF plan. This was part of the noticing components for visualization. That way you can see, because we will be discussing some lot line adjustments. I always find it's much easier to kind of follow along if you can visually see what we're talking about. So, Mr. Sparks?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. I'm Steve Sparks with the Bryan Cave Leighton Paisner Law Firm in Kansas City. We've been counsel to the city and the TIF Commission for 6 or 7 years, maybe longer. And in that regard, we've represented both bodies relative to the North Kansas City Destination Developers Tax Increment Redevelopment Plan. That's more commonly known as One North, which is under development. I think you all know the general site. In 2017, the city adopted the North Kansas City Destination Developers Tax Increment Redevelopment Plan, which was the original plan for the One North project. That plan was amended by a first amendment in November of 2019, and that amendment provided some updated estimates as to TIF increments that might be provided from the overall development. The plan was further amended in 2018, and that second amendment was to divide what was so-called Project Area 9 into Project Area 9 and 9A to specify two different developments, Old Chicago, I think, and the Starbucks, which are now completed. The consideration tonight will be to consider the third amendment to the TIF plan, which does several things. It takes a number of the old project areas and redesignates them or divides them, fixes lot lines to square up with the actual planning that's been done of the project, and it trues up some of the financial numbers from the original plan to more updated numbers. All of those are included in various exhibits to the third amendment, and I think those are included in your packet. They're on the screen, or they can be on the screen as we scroll through. So the idea is to bring the TIF plan forward to reality of what's intended to be developed on the project sites, and then move forward so the development can occur using TIF. Project Area 2 has actually been divided into two pieces now. That was the old, what was described as the golf facility. And the idea now is to have a multifamily housing project on one portion of that property and a health club restaurant on the other portion of that property. And maybe scroll back. Point to Project Area 2, which is, the scroller is working across there. Project Area 4 is intended to be a grocery, a full-service grocery. And so we're setting the boundary for that project by this amendment to the TIF plan. Then Project Area 6 is intended to be a restaurant, yet uncertain what that restaurant will be. Matt's going to talk about the numbers that will be changing inside of this third amendment to the TIF plan if the TIF plan's approved. And I'm certainly happy to answer any questions regarding what I've gone through. The developer's lawyer, Mark Abbott, is next to me and can answer any questions you might have with respect to the developer's specific plans once we go through the rest of the presentation. I think we ought to go to Matt at this point.
Good evening, everybody. Matt Webster with Stiefel Nicolaus. I'm the financial advisor to the city. Exhibit 3, which it appears as 2 pages in this amendment, is an update to the 2018 budget. And we do this to true up what changes over time. So when we started out on this, there were certain components. The main component that has changed is a golf entertainment development. I believe it was identified as Drive, which has dropped out and has now been replaced with the Millhouse Apartments. So that has been updated. There's also a Genesis Health Club and Restaurant identified as TIF Project Area 3. Grocery site has changed locations, and then there's new designations for the 2 restaurants, now identified as restaurants number 1 and 2. We've also taken into account on the budget the parts of the development that have been completed. And so that is the backyard apartments, that is the Hotel Conference Center, the Aloft and Element Hotel, medical office building, Starbucks, and Burger King. And most of the changes to this budget relate to the actual cost of completed developments, which we keep track of, and then the anticipated costs of things like the Millhouse Apartments, which are contemplated but not yet started. The purpose of the budget is just to keep track of this. It was always intended that it would be amended over time, so there's nothing particularly concerning. And we expect the budget to be amended at least one more time, probably once all of the development elements are fixed, and at that time we would bring it up to date to show what the actual costs of all these developments are and keep track of what's reimbursable under tax increment financing. As you'll see, there's the total cost, and then there's a column that's marked TIF eligible. There's a second column that's marked CID, that stands for Community Improvement District eligible. And then there's a final column that's marked TGT eligible. That's the city's transient guest tax. The CID and the TGT columns are not of particular concerns to the TIF Commission because they don't implicate tax increment financing, but we keep them on this budget to be consistent with past practice and also to keep track of what costs can be reimbursed from what sources. Finally, there's a Exhibit 6, Part 1 of 2, which is titled Summary Sources and Uses. The total project costs estimated at $217,452,000 are consistent with the total on the redevelopment project cost sheet that I just talked about. And then we keep track of total TIF revenue, CID revenue, and the hotel tax revenue. Those numbers have not been updated. We will bring those up to date in the near future once we fix the final development pieces. But we, again, this was contemplated to be sort of a progress statement, and we simply don't have that information at the moment. The tax increment financing plan, they're typically amended from time to time, and this one will be again. That really concludes my part of the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have about the budget, or if there are elements of this that I didn't address that you have questions about, I'm happy to address those as well.
Matt, I had a quick point of clarification. If you could scroll to the previous screen it's either the restaurant lot 1 or 2. Sorry, the further down the next sheet. There we go.
Yes.
In that, for restaurant lot 1, number 1, lot 7,
Yes.
it doesn't look like there's TIF eligible figure. Is there a reason why?
So I would say this, the way this budget is structured is arbitrary. The top part of the budget is land acquisition costs, and none of those costs were anticipated to be TIF eligible. And then you move down to infrastructure, and for both of the restaurants, 1 and 2, there is TIF eligible reimbursement contemplated under the infrastructure. And then we move down to hard construction costs, and again, both restaurant number 1 and 2 have TIF eligible reimbursements, and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
So-
and sorry, Matt, I was looking at the third-party professional costs, but there's probably a good reason why that restaurant, number 1, lot 7, didn't have one for that particular cost.
So it's just it's just arbitrary.
Okay.
And the answer is, I'm not sure why the third-party professional cost has been omitted from that column, but it is not there. It may be because we just don't know what it is. But we try to keep track as we do the developments of what's what's there and bring it up to date so that ultimately the final budget is an accurate expression of what actually has been spent. Up until that point, it's just an estimate or a projection. So for instance, the restaurants, the grocery, the Genesis, those would be the ones that are most likely to be updated.
Sure, perfect.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Hearing none. Any public comment? Doesn't look like anybody's running up to speak. Motion to close and continue, or to continue the public hearing, one or the other.
Motion to close.
Second.
Second, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those nays? None. Ask for a motion, I already did that. Resolution number 2022, consideration of a resolution of the Tax Increment Finance Commission of North Kansas City, Missouri, recommending approval of the Third Amendment to the North Kansas City Destination Developers Tax Increment Financing Plan to the City Council of the City of North Kansas City. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those say nays? No nays? It's been passed. Item number 5 is a TIF architectural design presentation. Who has that? Go ahead, Ms. Wood.
Bear with me one moment. Right. Good evening, everyone. This item in front of you is about, oops, did it not connect to the TV? Oh, it takes a moment. There we go. Just want to make sure. So this project in front of you is about a project that located to the northwest corner of North Kansas City. It is a last piece of the undeveloped land located in the Northgate Village, TIF area. So back in 1996, the city has formed the Tax Increment Financing Commission for redeveloping Northgate Village. And throughout the years, there were a lot of achievements have been made. Back in 2020, September, the city has sent out a request for proposal to redevelop this site. And this site, we eventually selected Box Real Estate Development. And the Box Real Estate Development has worked with the city and passed a development agreement back in October 2021. This development agreement was later amended on April 19, 2022, this year. And right in front of you is the architectural design component that the TIF Commission will weigh in. So I'm going to go through a little process of the details of the process of what we're doing here today. So the purpose and the process guidelines in TIF Commission packet, they're all included in here. I will mention some details of Bloom North Kansas City project as well as we review that. And then there are other review items that this project has gone through, and I'll touch that at the end of this presentation. So the purpose for the architectural design review is that the project will be subject to applicable provisions of the city's zoning code, as well as other codes and ordinances. And in this case, it's the design review guidelines. It's like a tier number 2 on top of our general zoning code. And staff has already reviewed this project against our zoning code, and this project has complied with our zoning ordinances. So right now, we're reviewing the architectural design parts. The process for that starts with the developer response to the city's RFP, as I mentioned, back in 2020, September. And they prepared the development plans to the city. And the city received these plans and informed the developers and commissioners while we review the submitted plans and review the design components. The staff make recommendation, and you can find it at the end of the staff memo. The staff do recommend approval on this project. And then later it's forwarded to the commission, to you guys to review and approve it. So the design guidelines, which is attached to the staff memo, we have 3 sections that are applicable to this project. The first section is the section number 3, regarding to the residential designs. We do look at the residential designs from different perspectives. We do look at the building materials, roof materials, color, windows, entries, facade, porches, patios, and miscellaneous items. The second component is the section number 4 for commercial design. We also look at building materials, colors, facade, orientation, glass, windows, roofs, site design. And the last component is section number 5, which is for the community design. Generally, there are site elements. These include sidewalks, circulations, lighting, gateways, public spaces, and other miscellaneous items. So this is a rendering showing the potential Bloom North Kansas City project with the bird's eye view from Burlington and North Oak, looking northeast. And as you can see, this project involves 5 buildings with mixed use. So the staff report has detailed items with the reviews and the submitted design through the lens of design guidelines. And we have explained the design elements and noted the deviations or concerns that staff had. And it also provided a staff recommendation at the end, as I mentioned. I'm going to dive into some details of this project. So this is a vicinity map showing the location of the project site. This project is located in between North Oak Traffic Way and Buchanan Street, and on the south side of 32nd Avenue, which is the northwest corner of the North Kansas City. So currently, it is zoned C3, which stands for high commercial uses. So the proposed use is in compliance with the zoning code requirement. The developer has proposed 5 buildings in total. The triangle-shaped building located at the north point is Building B, and it will have retail and office uses on the first floor and apartments above. There are Building A's, at the end of the south point of those row homes, which will have office uses on the first floor and residential above. And the building A are used for retail and office spaces. So there are a few components here that the gateways are marked with signage that on the building B, you will see from a rendering later that there is a marked bloom KC with a blooming flowerish design that we believe it marks the gateway entryway for North Kansas City. There are sidewalks and street trees that do comply with the design guidelines and the city zoning code ordinances. There are 2 entryways. One will be off of North Oak Traffic Way. As you can see, it's located on the southwest side of the site. And one will be from Buchanan Street, which is located on the northeast side of the site. The site circulation is in compliance with the city code. So here's a detail of Building B. As you see, that Building B is a triangle-shaped building. It is somewhat unique. And the signage I mentioned earlier on the building have this grayish looking marked bloom over here. And the building are generally designed with brick faces with some metals being used over here. These metals are horizontal metal panels. And staff will express a little concern over here in deviations from the design guideline a little bit for this particular material. And the design for all the materials, generally they do have heavier materials at the bottom and lighter materials for the upper levels, which is part of the design guideline requirement. And as you can see, the apartments above, on the second and third floor, they do have patios. The patios do not fully comply with the design guideline, which requires the patio to have at a minimum of 64 square feet area. However, given the size of the window frames, it will look disproportionate if we widening the patios. There is a way that commissioners, you can grant a alternative compliance through the outdoor space design. I will touch that base here in a little bit as well. The next building group is the building C/D, which is located at the northwest of the site. As you can see, the front of the building is located at the bottom of this slide, and the back of the building is in the middle. They do have alley access to garage and some patios at the back as well. And this is the design for building C and D located at the northeast. They're in a similar color and architectural style as the other row homes located at the northwest. These are building C and D located southwest. And for southwest buildings and east-west buildings, they do have building type A at the very south point, which is attached to these row homes. And as you can see on the bottom right, you see a little pitched roof over there and a little flat roof. That is the dividing line for these building A's. So here's a detailed building A1, which is the building located on the southwest corner. And building A1 has a pitched roof in the center, and it is merely used for retail and office uses. It is designed with brick faces and glass windows. And these are building C and D on the southeast. And they also have building A2 as a component attached to the south end. And building A2 has a flat roof and with bricks and some horizontal metal panels designed and blended into the overall architectural design. So as I mentioned earlier, there are some deviations and concerns the staff has. The first one is the building material. They are using the horizontal metal building materials, as I mentioned, and I will show a little detailed picture what those metal panels look like. Staff does not have concern with these metal panels, even though there are metal panels. They're not the traditional metal panels as you've seen that has been written in the design guideline to prohibit the use on purpose. And then they also propose to use fiber cement panels, and the fiber cement panels has been approved by TIF Commission before for the gardens, the senior apartments. And the second item is the window, that they do use a very small amount of spandrel glass. They're less than 2% for each facade, and staff does not have any concern for it. It's just we have to highlight what are these ones that deviates a little bit from the design guideline. And the last portion was the porch and patio, that the design guideline require outdoor space design in lieu of a minimum of 64 square feet porch patio. In other words, you either provide 64 square foot of porch or patio for residential uses, or you can compensate it from an outdoor open space design. The purpose for that is make sure the residents there have enough outdoor space to enjoy their amenities and their life. So these are detailed building materials. I put it out. As I mentioned, this is a picture of the horizontal panels that they're going to use. It is called the Barrage Revolt Series panels, and this is a picture of a building that has been finished with this horizontal panel. It's the dark gray area in the middle where those signage were mounted on. And the fiber cement panels were previously approved by TIF Commission, as I mentioned, in the gardens at North Gate Senior Apartments. And this building has been established, and we all seen it. We do believe it complies with this neighborhood's characteristic. So staff doesn't have concern with this material neither. And for spandrel glasses, they do have less than 2% of the building facade for spandrel glasses. They do look like glass, they're just not see-through. They do look a little bit darker. And the location of these are generally located at the very top of the windows, so staff don't have concern for that as well. The outdoor open spaces, this is a design that has some detailed outdoor open spaces that the applicant proposed. So there is an outdoor space located on the east side of building B, which is the triangle building, as you can see here. There are variations of materials being used, and there are also amenities being provided, like benches, trash cans, lightings, gathering places, fire pits, and bike racks as well. There is also another enlarged picture at the bottom right corner of this site plan that's showing a gathering place and for outdoor space located in between the row homes. There will be a pedestrian footpath in between these row homes in the middle of the site from the west to the east. So here is a drafted resolution that's also included in your package. If you have questions, I'll be able to answer the questions. And the last component I want to inform you is there are other review process this project has already gone through. So it started from platting, that they had to combine those lots, and then go to infrastructure plans. They did a stormwater study of this site. The site is generally flat, and we had a cycle track being planned on Burlington, and we'll continue on North Oak. So we worked with the applicant throughout the process. And we also had a site plan review that has been approved by the Planning Commission back in May. And then now we're at the stage where this architectural design review is in your hand. And after this approval, they will be going forward to the building code and construction plan and permitting issue. All right, that concludes my presentation. And if you have any question, I'm open to it.
Questions from my commissioners?
Thanks.
Looks like I need to ask for a motion to either approve or disapprove of this.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Second. Any more questions from the commissioners?
One quick clarification, because I was going to ask on the cycle track. Obviously, that'll include a pedestrian component as well for walkers, because currently there is no sort of pedestrian infrastructure on that curve to the northern portion of the expanded gardens area. Is there a timeline on that?
So I'm assuming you're talking about the Burlington project?
Right, yeah.
We're currently in property acquisition for that particular project. We have multiple individual parcels of land. Some of them are temporary construction easements, some of them are permanent to make that cycle track complete. So I don't have an end date of when that property acquisition period will be finalized, because there are, I think, Tom, more than 80 complete parcels of land that we have to go through. But staff is currently working on that, and as soon as that is complete, then we're able to begin the construction phase.
Perfect, thanks.
Any more questions? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nobody opposes. So on to the next one. Kim, it looks like you're up on number 7.
So on that motion and second, was that to approve Resolution 2022-3?
Correct.
Okay, then I will put it, okay. Thank you.
Perfect. Resolution number 2022-4 is a consideration of a resolution ratifying acts of commissioners. And actually, Mr. Sparks, can you talk a little bit about why this particular document is necessary?
Sure. This is really a cleanup type resolution. Since we haven't had a meetings any more recent than February of 2021, there have been some administrative filings and so forth, clerical things done since that date, and we think it's appropriate to bring forward all the just a general approval of all those things that have happened in the meantime. Kim, there's really no specific activity that we're talking about, but there have been filings with the state and so forth, so we just like to bring that forward so we're current, given the fact that we don't meet regularly. We just meet when we have more important business to do like you've done tonight. Happy to answer any questions, though.
Any questions from my commissioners? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any more questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. It looks like any comments from the public. Please step up to the podium. Doesn't look like any. Staff comments. Ms. Nakamoto.
Thank you so much, everyone, for attending and all of your work this evening. I just have 2 kind of quick items. So the TIF Commission is responsible for stewardship of 2 separate TIF plans. One of the TIF plans you have recommended to move forward to the City Council for the 3rd amendment of the One North TIF plan. That particular TIF plan is coming up on one milestone, and that is every 5 years we do need to hold a public hearing for that particular TIF plan. And one of the reasons why we brought it forward for you tonight is to true up those numbers and make it as true of a document as possible in advance of that 5-year public hearing. So I will be messaging you on next steps of that particular TIF plan. I do appreciate your work tonight on that document, again, to make sure that that 5-year public hearing is as true as possible. One of the actions that you guys took tonight was I think it's kind of exciting. It's one of the last pieces in the Northgate TIF plan. That TIF plan was envisioned back in 1996 and actually took form in 1999. So it is a very long established TIF plan, and the fact that it's now being finally realized is kind of a remarkable thing. With that will come another TIF amendment to true up those numbers. The last time that particular TIF plan was trued up, to the best of our knowledge, again, because the 23rd and Swift apartments had not been realized yet, and the Bloom and Casey had not been realized yet. We took guesstimate numbers on those empty parcels. So some of the staff work that will be done over the next probably year or so is to true up those numbers and then bring forward that TIF plan to be amended, hopefully for the very last time, with final and complete numbers. So just so you guys, I kind of wanted to put that on this body's radar, that you have a couple of future meetings, but it really is kind of exciting to see that particular TIF plan come to full realization, and I do appreciate your work on this. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about those TIF plans.
Yeah, I have one, Kim. On the portion of the row homes that Aspen Homes are still building out, is it finalized that there is going to be a 3-3 row home orientation? So there's no changes in that plan that we'll need to approve, correct?
Correct. That is something that this body had given permission to move forward, I believe, at that February meeting,
Yeah,
to be honest.
I vaguely remembered it, so great, thanks.
No problem. Any other questions?
Any commissioner comments, questions? Nothing? Any other business, ladies and gentlemen? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
thank you very much for attending. Go out and have fun in the heat. No. No.
I have to run, unfortunately, but great to see you. Yeah, yeah. We'll have to have a, when it cools, a little backyard cocktail.
Yeah, I've been really
Don't be that impressed.
excited about the Northgate Beach one.
Wheels are spinning just like
Yeah.
mine. You need to go out.
Yeah, I can't sit on my hands quite. Alrighty, Jenny, we'll see you later. Tom, good to see you. Take care.
I know, I know.